Welcome back to the deep dive. You see it on TV, right? The World Series of Poker broadcasts.
Oh, yeah.
That image of the poker pro, so cool. Under pressure, sunglasses on, traveling everywhere, just living life completely on their own terms. It seems like the ultimate kind of romantic career.
It really does look that way.
Hmm.
But that image, it hides a pretty brutal reality, honestly.
Brutal how?
Well, turning poker into a real sustainable living. It's not about getting lucky or hitting one massive tournament score. It takes, like, the discipline of a numbers guy, a CFO maybe,
Okay.
the steady habits of someone going for a PhD, and the mental game of a top athlete.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that paints a different picture. So today, let's really dig into that. Our mission here is to give you the real breakdown, what skills, what business sense, and maybe most importantly, what mindset you actually need to go from playing cards on a Friday night to being a professional aiming for, consistent money over the long haul.
And that word professional is super important here.
Yeah.
We're not talking about someone who just, like, spikes a tournament once a year.
Right.
A pro, by definition, earns the majority of their income from playing poker. Now, that income might come from different places, maybe online cash games, maybe live tournaments, maybe even stuff like sponsorships or coaching.
Ah, interesting. Diversified.
Yeah, exactly. But the core thing is consistent profitability at the tables themselves. It's treated like a business, not a lottery ticket.
Got it. So it's not just about winning sometimes, it's about that consistency, like running a data-driven operation. Okay, let's unpack this whole thing. If you're listening and you're genuinely serious about this path, where does the journey even start? I guess mastering the basics.
Yeah, but basics on a whole other level. Before you even think about this as a career, you need a deep strategic understanding, way beyond just knowing the rules of, say, Texas Hold'em.
Okay, like what?
We're talking about mastering probabilities, not just knowing a flush beats a straight, but like calculating your actual chances of winning against what your opponent might have in real time.
Whoa, okay, that's already complex.
And then there's position. Acting last in a betting round. That's huge. You have more information. It affects everything. What hands you play, how much you bet.
Right, controlling the size of the pot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bet sizing, pot control, and of course the classic skill. Reading opponents, picking up on betting patterns, little habits, tells.
That's still as big a deal now with all the math?
It is, but it's changed.
Mm.
Pros spend so much time identifying patterns. If you know someone only bets big when they have the nuts, well, that's gold over time.
But the learning curve now, it feels like it's gone vertical. It used to be maybe enough to be a good people reader. Now, the research we looked at shows even the absolute top players, they never stop learning. They have to keep investing in education.
Absolutely. That brings us to the modern game. You can't just rely on gut feeling anymore. Professional success today demands constant, active study and using advanced tools.
Tools? Like what kind of tools?
Well, aspiring pros use software called solvers.
Solvers. Okay, hold on. For someone who hasn't heard of these, what are they? Does that, take the human part out of poker?
Not entirely, but it definitely quantifies strategy. Think of a solver as like an AI for poker. It runs millions of simulations for a specific scenario
Oh, yeah.
and figures out the most profitable, mathematically perfect way to play that spot. It's based on something called game theory optimal, or GTO.
GTO.
Heard that term?
Yeah. So the game at the highest levels isn't just about exploiting weaknesses anymore. It's about knowing this optimal baseline strategy and then only deviating when you spot a specific reason to a major mistake your opponent is making.
Okay, so the study isn't just reading books anymore. It's running software, using tracking programs to analyze your own game, find your leaks,
Yeah.
maybe even hiring coaches.
Definitely. Coaching accelerates growth massively. But yeah, it's a huge investment, time and money, often before you've even really started earning consistently.
Wow, it really underscores that this is, like you said, an intellectual arms race. Constant study is just table stakes, basically. It's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It's the difference maker between breaking even and actually making a profit against good players.
Okay. So you build this foundation, this knowledge base. How do you actually apply it day to day and make it, sustainable? That brings us to the business side, right? Volume and bankroll. And first, you got to choose your arena, online or live.
Yeah, and they are very different beasts. Online poker, the volume is incredible. You can play multiple tables at once, 4, 8. Some guys play like 20 tables.
20, how?
It's intense, but it's great for getting hands in, maximizing hourly potential, and practicing those GTO strategies quickly. The downside, Competition's tougher, especially as you move up, and it can be mentally draining just tracking everything.
Right, and live poker.
Live is slower,
Hmm.
much slower volume,
Yeah.
but you get the physical tells, the human interaction, and honestly, the games can often be softer, especially outside the main hubs.
So potentially easier money, but less of it per hour.
Kind of. Plus, you have travel costs, fixed session times, it's different pressures. A lot of pros we see actually blend them. They grind online for steady income, then travel for big live tournaments with huge potential payouts.
Makes sense. But whichever way you go, you mentioned volume. That seems key.
It's paramount. Poker's a skill game, yes, but that skill only really shows over a massive sample size. Success isn't about winning every session, it's about making slightly better decisions than your opponents, consistently, over hundreds of thousands of hands.
Hundreds of thousands of hands. Wow.
Until the math, your edge, just overcomes the short-term luck, the variance.
Okay, so that means showing up day in, day out, playing, testing things, analyzing, win or lose.
Which leads perfectly into probably the most critical habit, right? The one that separates the pros from the people who try to be pros. Bankroll management.
This is it. The absolute #1 non-negotiable rule. Your bankroll. That's your business capital. Protecting it is the only way you survive the downswings. Survive variance. And let's define variance clearly. Because hobby players throw that term around, but maybe not always correctly.
Right. Variance is just, what's the luck factor? The unavoidable short-term swings. Even if you make a play that's profitable 90% of the time, you're still going to lose that 10%. And variance means those losses can sometimes clump together. You hit a bad run, even playing well, and it can wipe out someone who isn't disciplined with their money.
So how do you guard against that inevitable bad luck streak? The data we saw seemed pretty clear in the rules.
Crystal clear. You absolutely should not play in games or stakes where you risk more than, say, 1 to 5% of your entire poker bankroll in a single session or day.
1 to 5%. Okay, so if your total poker money is, let's say, $20,000.
You shouldn't risk more than maybe $200 to $1,000 in one go, ideally towards the lower end of that range, especially starting out.
Got it. And that means never chasing losses, keeping meticulous records?
Exactly. And it also dictates how much you need to even start. If you want to play, say, games with a $100 buy-in, the expert consensus is you need a starting bankroll of maybe 30 to 50 buy-ins.
So $3,000 to $5,000 just to safely play $100 games.
Correct. Just to handle the swings at relatively modest stakes professionally.
That's a serious chunk of change, a real financial barrier. It totally confirms what you said. This is a business, not just a game you play for fun money. If you don't have that cushion.
They're basically setting yourself up to fail the minute variance hits hard, because the moment you're scared money, stressed about rent, your decisions go out the window.
Which is where it gets really interesting, I think, because all this knowledge, the volume, the bankroll discipline, none of it matters without the right head game, right? The mental discipline.
Oh, absolutely. Developing that winning mindset, that's what truly separates the best from the rest. It comes down to key traits. Patience, first off. Understand big scores are rare. It's about grinding out small, consistent wins. Discipline. Sticking to your strategy, that GTO baseline, even when you're frustrated or losing. Avoiding emotional plays. And that discipline links directly back to bankroll management, too.
But is it really possible, though, to treat something involving, like, visible piles of money unemotionally? Or is that just an ideal nobody reaches? How do people actually handle that stress?
It's less about suppressing emotion, more about controlling your reaction to it. Because the absolute #1 mental killer in poker is tilt.
Tilt. Define that word.
Tilt is basically losing emotional control, usually triggered by a bad beat or just a run of bad cards, variance. You get frustrated, angry, and you start making terrible, often hyper-aggressive decisions.
Like trying to win it all back in one hand.
Exactly. Chasing losses, playing hands you shouldn't, risking way too much. A strong mindset is the only defense. It allows the pro to just accept the loss as kinda part of the math and move on. Play the next hand optimally, based on strategy, not emotion.
That sounds incredibly draining, mentally exhausting. And the job doesn't just stop at the table either, right? There's this whole other side of networking, reputation.
Yeah, that's crucial too. Poker is still a game, played against people. Building a solid network can open doors maybe to softer private games, maybe to learning opportunities with other pros. And if you want to branch out into streaming or coaching later, your reputation is everything.
So being known as, reliable, professional, not someone who tilts off their stack.
Pretty much. Disciplined, trustworthy, it matters.
Okay, let's get brutally honest about the lifestyle itself. We talked about the glamour image at the start. What about the not so glamorous side.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for like really irregular income, right?
Oh, the financial swings are huge. You could crush it for 3 months straight, then have 2 months where you're barely breaking even or even dipping into reserves because of variance.
It happens.
And the hours,
Long hours are standard,
right?
especially live play or big online tournaments. Sessions can easily go 6, 8, 10, even 12 hours. Wow. And if you're doing the live tournament circuit, that means travel constantly.
Yep. Costs, hotels, being away from home,
Mhm.
and just the sheer mental grind. Staying razor focused for that long while your money is swinging wildly, it takes a massive physical and psychological toll. People burn out.
Okay, so managing expectations is key. Let's bust some myths then. Misconception number 1, it's easy money.
Huh. Yeah, definitely not. Reality. It's incredibly mentally demanding, needs serious starting capital, and long-term success requires basically total dedication. It's a hard job.
Okay. Misconception 2, luck is everything.
That's the classic one. Reality. Luck absolutely dictates short-term results. That horrible card on the river, that's luck. But skill. Skill's the only thing that determines long-term earnings. The best players win consistently over years because their strategy, their GTO play, overcomes the luck factor. The data backs this up completely.
Right. And misconception 3, all poker pros are rich driving Lambos.
Yeah, another fantasy. The research shows it's only a tiny fraction. The absolute elite who make millions. Many successful pros make a comfortable living, sure, but often it's comparable to like a solid middle-class job, maybe a bit better. But setting unrealistic financial goals, that's a recipe for burnout, chasing money that just isn't achievable for most.
Okay, so pulling all this together, the deep GTO knowledge, the iron mindset, the insane volume, the strict bankroll rules, the big question people always ask is, how long does this actually take
Yeah.
to make that switch?
Yeah, and the consensus from experts is pretty consistent. You're looking at, on average, probably 1 to 3 years
1 to 3 years.
of dedicated, consistent, focused learning and disciplined play.
Yeah.
Just to reach a level where you can realistically expect to be a sustainable professional. It's like a serious apprenticeship.
Wow. 1 to 3 years of daily grind just to get your foot in the door professionally. Okay. So given that, given how much success now hinges on that mathematical game theory optimal strategy, and remembering the definition of a pro is earning the majority of income from the game, here's a thought to leave people with.
Okay.
Is the professional poker player of the future really an expert card player?
Hmm.
Or are they becoming more like an expert in applied game theory who just happens to use cards as their medium?
Hmm.
And what does that imply about making a living purely from playing versus, say, leveraging that knowledge into coaching or content, becoming more of a poker entrepreneur?
Huh. That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
Especially the game keeps evolving so fast.
Definitely something to think about. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the demanding business of professional poker. We'll catch you next time.